talk about like kind of perspective, motivation, and just kind of how that's evolved over the course of the past 3 years?
Yeah.
Tay, do you want to take us away here, or Sylvia?
Me? Me? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, let's see, my motivation and everything. You know, it definitely changed and it definitely progressed as I went through optometry school. I came in, you know, knowing that this is like a topic that I liked or a field that I liked. But as I got deeper into it, I actually like started to actually love this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that's also, we talked about going into like patient stuff, you know, Q1, you know, right away. It's definitely something that helped so much because patient interaction, as much as it kind of scared me, you know, made me nervous, it made me fall more in love with it.
Yep.
It is definitely a bit of positive feedback.
Oh, for
Yes,
sure.
for
Like
sure.
being with actual patients and doing this made me start to love optometry, love what I learned even more. So I think my motivation also changed in a way. Like my
Yep.
motivation started as, you know, okay, this is a cool, you know, field. This is a cool job. You know, my parents think that's cool, you know, that I'm
Right.
doing this, you know, like stuff like that. But then
Make okay money.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But then, you know, like as you start going into it, my motivation changed to no, like this is actually something that I want to do because I think this is so cool. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you start to fall in love with this and the patients that you see and the things that you do. So
Right.
yeah,
I completely agree. In the beginning, as much as you want to say like, oh, I want to be an eye doctor, I want a stable
Yeah.
job, I want a decent income, you know, because those are always
Yeah,
in the
for
back
sure.
of our head. I want to help people, but
Yeah.
you don't really know what that means until you
Yes.
really start it. You don't really know what being an eye doctor really means.
Yeah.
And as cheesy as that sounds,
my
and I
God,
know
yeah.
it really does sound cheesy,
right.
just when you start to realize what actually encompasses optometry, it's not
Right.
just refraction. It's not
Oh
just
my
giving
God,
out a prescription every day. It's like actually
So
looking
much more.
at the health of the eye and like patient and vision care and just the different aspects of optometry, like contact lens and like how that's evolving and vision therapy, vision therapy,
Yeah,
I should say.
yeah.
And there's so much that goes into
Yes.
it, and you really do fall in love with it.
Yeah.
And I think even, you know, even shadowing can't do that justice. You know,
No.
as much time as you spent working in a practice or shadowing, there's so much that just clicks once this is my patient.
Yeah.
I'm seeing my patient
Right,
today.
right.
And that kind of puts this motivation in the back of your head, like, I want to take care of this person.
Yeah.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
my patient. I want to take care of them, and I want to help them see or figure out
Right.
how to treat their
Yeah.
glaucoma or whatever it
Manage,
may be.
yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. Like we've been saying, it's great that you get that positive feedback right at the beginning, because I can
Yes.
imagine how exhausting it would be
Right.
to
Yeah.
go through all this learning and never
Yes.
get
Yeah.
anything
Yes.
out of it.
Right.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it would be extremely frustrating.
For
I
sure.
think it's funny if trying to think back to people have asked me this in the past, like patients, family, friends, like why did you choose optometry?
Oh,
Super cliche question.
Everyone asks you that. Every single
You're probably going to get asked
Oh,
that
yeah.
in at least one or two
For-
or more
or
interviews.
10.
Yep.
I don't remember. I really don't remember why I made that choice in my head.
Yeah.
However many years, I don't even remember when it was. And the reason, it's not because I like made some sort of a blind decision or just shot in the dark or something. It's literally because it's whatever reason I thought I wanted to do this doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's so much different now
Yes.
doing it than it however I imagined it in the past. Like Sylvia had said, the motivation is just like turned up by 11
Yes.
when you actually start doing it and learning about it. And part of what's really cool is definitely learning about the specific parts of optometry. We mentioned in the last clip that we have so much more practicing power than one person could ever utilize, in my opinion.
Yes.
And so learning about all those different things that we can do and different ways to treat stuff besides just one.
Yeah.
It's so cool to learn about
know.
that stuff. And you kind of really, even if you are passionate going in and you have like a great motivation, you're going to find something that like, oh my gosh, I want to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Coming in, honestly, this is funny. I really thought like optometry was 1-2. Like,
Yeah.
no.
I mean,
I think we all did.
I think we all do because it's what you hear, and then you actually get into it, and it's like this much
Yep.
out of what you learn
Yes.
is 1-2. You know, refraction and stuff. As much refraction is very important, but I mean, you learn so much more into
Right.
so many different fields, and you start to fall in love with things, all of it. You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
I mean? But yeah,
I think it must be crazy. There are a handful of our classmates who are aware of that different kind of stuff more specifically because maybe they were treated for something like amblyopia
Yeah.
or strabismus
Yeah.
themselves, or had a family member with a certain retinal pathology or something. So they were a little bit more aware of that than some of us were. And so I don't know, it's just kind of funny to think they probably saw us and they're like, they don't even know. They don't even know what's going on yet.
Yeah.
Just wait until we get into the hard stuff. But it's all a lot of fun to learn about. It's crazy. And I think the one downside to all of this is just having to go back home over like Christmas. Yeah. And your uncle maybe is just like, oh, so glasses, what? And you have to know it's way more than that. I can't even begin to tell you what it all entails. But it's really fun to blow people's minds with that stuff. Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially so cool. When they're sitting in your exam chair. Yes. And
I love it.
And they're like, yeah, my PCP told me I had to come to get an eye exam because I have diabetes. Like, I don't really know why. Yeah. And you're, well, let me explain it to you. Yeah, right? Because it's super important. Yeah. Yeah. And they sit there and they go, wow, I had no idea. Right? Thank you for explaining this to me. And I'm like, you're welcome. I'm glad you let me explain it.
I love it. Yeah. I love that feeling.
It's so satisfying.
It's very satisfying. It's so funny. I think we all kind of have this agreement that like refraction is probably our least favorite part of the exam. It's like kind of this tedious thing that we have to do.
It can be for sure. I mean,
even though it's a big part of it, don't get me wrong. But I think it's so much more.
You have to admit though, it is really satisfying when somebody can't see and then fix it.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think it's just so rewarding, like you were saying, to explain to people what it means about the health of their eye and just
I wish that
just their health, like systemically, like you said, diabetes. Yes. People come in like, I need this because hypertension or like my high blood pressure or my diabetes or or whatever, and then you get to explain why, and they're just like mind blown. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Or even my friends, like I feel like this is like my little like not party trick. But like, people would be like, oh, eye doctor, whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, let me look in the back of your eye. I could probably tell you a lot of things about you. I could a lot about you. And they're like, what, how? You know what I mean? And it's like, well, let me explain it to you, right? But
one of our lecturers for our boards course, our prep course that we're all taking, told us a story about how she saw a patient who, and I'm going to screw it up, toxo versus histoplasmosis. Which one? Oh, this is making me feel bad because we just went over this yesterday. But she blew somebody's mind because she pretty much figured out where they lived based on.
Yeah.
That's
we're both like,
Ohio,
you both you don't remember which one it is either.
Ohio, Mississippi.
Mississippi River Valley.
And one of our professors or faculty or an OD out there is watching this, wagging their finger at us big time. I'm sorry. We've had a lot of stuff going on this weekend. We've been studying quite a bit, I promise. It's just not right there at this moment. But it's crazy that you could do stuff like that. There are definitely like these random things that you just, I know what's going on. Like, and all I did was look at the back of your eye. Yeah. I know. It's kind of cool, right? It's a lot of fun to do that kind of stuff. I wish that like, obviously this is impossible. Wouldn't it be cool to like get a compilation of like every time you blew a patient's mind?
That'd be awesome. It's honestly, so fun. And funny enough, why I love ICO too about starting so early is because more times than I can count already. I'm only really a third quarter, whatever. Right. I've already blew so many people's minds and I absolutely love it every single time I do. And it could be as simple as dry eye, which is so prevalent. But the anatomy of it and how to treat it is so big. But like, just blowing people's minds, explaining it is like great.
Because there's a lot of opportunity there.
Huge. If you want to get a dry eye.
There's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, it is. But
it's something we didn't know about until we started.
No. Honestly, I was like, my eyes are kind of dry. And then you learn so many things about it. It's so cool.
It's crazy. I mean, even just like statistics. You think of statistics as being like a really boring thing to have to learn. But a lot of times you just kind of retain them in your head because it is a wow factor kind of a thing. It's just like, did you know when you're looking at your phone or watching TV, you blink 50% less?
Yeah.
That's bad.
Right.
You go, that doesn't sound good. It's not good.
Right.
And it's a nerdy statistic, but it just kind of, it's another wow thing that you can pull out.
It's fun. People come in and they're like, no, I don't have dry eye.
Right.
I don't have it.
And you look and you're like,
you look at their eye and you're like, you have dry eye. I promise you.
Yeah.
Or even just, not necessarily dry eye either, but other conditions that maybe they mention run in the family, stuff like that. It's like, okay, we want to take a closer look at that, and there's a reason for it, and you're obviously not going to stop there, because I don't know about you guys, I've definitely been in an exam room, not in an eye doctor specifically, but just in medicine, and been like, okay, this doctor is just reading a chart, like I'm just like a lab rat. I don't know, and it's like the worst feeling ever.
I know
just not really feel like you're the person's leveling with you, I guess, if that makes sense. But I feel like most of us, if not every single one of us, kind of has this motivation that's really grown over the past 3 years, that they want to do better than that. You know what I mean? You go see your patients in your shifts, and you're like, okay, it's not just a chart with data on it and a person that has all these diseases or something. It's really an opportunity, like we kind of said from the beginning, to help them understand and to make them comfortable. You know what I mean? It's super important to do that, obviously, but like I said, I think a lot of us have had that poor experience and really try and take that the other direction, if that makes sense.
It's true.
So yeah, motivation, it's definitely changed over the past 3 years, I would say. And then well, just kind of, like we said, our perspective on what optometry is has really evolved over the past few years. It's really hard to communicate that.
It is. I mean,
we try to do our best here.
You gotta do it. It's hard to say. Like, you know, Yeah, you just have to. You have to.
Yeah, I would say it's one of those intangibles that you just have to try and look forward to.
Yes.
If you're sitting there, maybe you're a first year and you're sitting there trying to figure out why you have to learn about all these random cardiac diseases or something in Dr. Donati's class, or you're an undergrad trying to figure out why you have to take like microbiology. It's like, I just want to learn about eyes and all this stuff. There's a reason why all those courses are picked. Yes, of course, there's going to be some information that is there just because it has to be, and not really because it's like going to be useful to you every single day of your life. But just keep that in mind. I know, like I said, it's kind of an intangible thing you just have to try and look forward to. But like, once you start getting that interaction with a patient, it just like, it changes your whole point of view. And like we said, ICO does a really good job of giving you those opportunities from the beginning.
For sure.
Definitely.
Especially, like, you had a really good point in, you know, a lot of the classes that you take, you don't think that you're really going to utilize, but you really do. I mean, you know, in optometry, of course, we focus on the eye, but the eye gets affected by the body. I mean, it's part of the body, I should say. But a lot of people come in, and you're actually the person to explain them about their disease that they have. Not just their eye disease, but their systemic problems that they have, because it affects their eye. But then, you know, in order to explain how to take care of their eye, they have to take care of their body. And so you're the one who has to explain what's wrong and how to take care of themselves, because then it's going to allow them to take care of their eye health. So, you know, these classes are actually really important. You don't just take care of the eye, you take care of their whole body and the patient themselves. And it's so great when you get to sit down with someone and explain these things, and they're so thankful that to understand. I guess that's part of my motivation. There's so many parts of my motivation, but that's definitely a big part of it.
It starts to become less tedious to have to learn those things once you realize how much of a difference it can make in managing a condition for a patient. You know, it makes it easier to explain it to them, which makes it easier for them to manage it themselves. And again, the gratitude is one of the most rewarding things.
It's like nothing else when a patient is like, no one has explained it to me the way that you explained it to me, and that's why it's important.
You're like,
you have to,
it's nothing.
And then you run back home. Trust me, Taya and me are just like, oh my god, guess what?
just doing my job. Doing my job, man. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, just try and keep that in the back of your head. Look forward to that, because
very rewarding.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this week's episode of Hindsight. Stay tuned next week for another episode, this time talking about burnout and how we kind of avoid it and when it all kind of started kicking in for us. Of course, like I said last week, if you have any more questions, head over to our website, ico.edu, and we'll see you again next week.